This wedding has an incredible wedding cake. Everybody wants a piece of it, but dividing it up in a way that makes everybody happy is not so easy. Hi, welcome to One Plain Text, and today I'm going to show you why cake cutting is tricky. People become jealous when they don't get their fair share, but sometimes, even when the cake is divided up evenly, people still get upset, just because they did not participate in the decision process. The cut and choose procedure, known as you cut, I choose, solves the problem. First, a coin toss is used to decide who does the cutting, and in this case, wait for it, this is awkward. Anyway, glitch aside, one person is chosen to cut the cake in halves, and the other person chooses which half they are going to take. The person who cuts the cake has an incentive to cut it up as evenly as possible, because the other person will always choose the bigger half. The cut and choose procedure works well when there are only 2 people, but what about when there are 3 people competing for a cake? A slight modification can be made so that it will work on 3 or more people. Just like before, a coin toss is used to determine the order of things happening. The first person cuts out what he considers to be a fair slice and passes it on to the next person. The next person can either choose to cut it smaller or simply pass it on. The last person can either choose to take the slice, or otherwise, the last person who made the cut has to take the slice. And then, the remainder of the cake can be evenly divided up using the cut and choose procedure. Why does this work? If the first person cuts out a slice that is too small, nobody would take the slice, and he would be stuck with it. But if he cuts out a slice that is bigger than a fair share, somebody else will just shave off a minuscule portion from it and take it, or the last person will take it. Either way, leaving less than a fair amount to be divided up for him later. In fact, the same reasoning applies to all participants. But what if everybody has a different preference? For example, the cake may have strawberry flavored frosting in the middle, and Nate likes it 3 times more than the plain frosting, while Uncle Mark likes it almost as much. Knowing Tanya has no preference towards strawberry, Nate cuts a third of the cake with only vanilla frosting. Uncle Mark has a hard pass, and Tanya takes it. Based on Nate's and Uncle Mark's different preferences, they can divide the remainder up satisfyingly. However, there is a problem. Even though Tanya got what she considers to be a fair share, she also considers Uncle Mark's allotment to be more than her own fair share, and she will be jealous. Wait, ouch, ow, ow, ouch, ow, ouch. Mathematicians John Selfridge and John H. Conway recognized this issue and independently came up with what is known as an envy-free cake cutting procedure. Strap in, this will be quite a ride. Consider a cake with both strawberry and pistachio flavored frostings. Both Nate and Uncle Mark like them quite differently, while Tanya remains indifferent. In the first step, Nate cuts the cake into what he considers to be 3 equal slices, according to his preference. Uncle Mark takes the 2 slices that he values the most and trims down one of them so that they are now equal in value, according to his preference. We will put a little cleaver next to it and call it the trim piece. The trimmed leftover is set aside for later. Tanya gets to pick from any one of these slices. The special rule here is, either she takes the trim piece or Uncle Mark has to. In this particular case, since she has no preference towards the flavor of the frosting, she would take the biggest slice in terms of size. And since she did not take the trim piece, we will give her a little knife to denote that. And the trim piece goes to Uncle Mark, and we will give him a little fork to denote that. Lastly, Nate takes what remains. At this point, nobody should be envious of anybody else. Nate is supposed to have divided up the cake into 3 equal slices. As long as he does not get the trim slice, which he would not because of the special rule, he should be happy with what he gets. Now comes Uncle Mark. Either he chooses second, or he gets the trim slice if Tanya does not. But since he has already made sure the top 2 slices are the same when it was his turn to cut, either way, what he gets must be at least as good as the slice Tanya has chosen. And when it comes to Tanya, she cannot be envy of anybody else, because she gets to pick first. Now let's divide up the leftover. Remember we put a little knife over Tanya because she did not take the trim piece. She gets to divide up the leftover piece into 3 equal parts, according to her preference. Tanya does not have preference over flavor of the frosting, because she does not value the frosting as much as the cake itself. Remember we gave Uncle Mark a fork because he took the trim slice in the previous step. Now he gets to choose which piece he likes before anybody else. And since he gets to choose first, he will not be envy of what other people get. Next, Nate gets to choose. He's not going to be envy of Uncle Mark who chooses before him, because Uncle Mark was given a trim piece. In the first cut, Nate already makes sure the trim piece plus the leftover is 1/3 of the entire cake, according to his preference. Now Uncle Mark is taking even less than that. So in Nate's view, Uncle Mark is taking less than 1/3 of the overall. And since Nate gets to choose before Tanya, he should not be envy of her either. The remaining piece goes to Tanya, who divided up the leftover. Because she was supposed to have made those 3 slices perfectly equal, she should be happy with what she gets. These cake cutting procedures are not just theoretical, they have real-world applications. Imagine the cake itself as some scarce resources people are competing for. These procedures can be used to divide up resources among parties with very different preferences. For example, in a land dispute, some nations may prize fishing resources above all else, while others may value farmlands. These procedures can help in drawing up a new border and give each party what they want. Well, that's it for today. Remember to subscribe, like, and hit the bell button. See you next time.